Maneva na sema PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV de osia dem yopo.
Something is happening, and it is very significant. Something extraordinary is happening now. I mean, who could have thought 1 year ago, 2 years ago, that in a short space of 1 week, government and or state institutions could lose 3 cases in a row in the Supreme Court? Just think about it. I mean, we came to the point where when cases went to the Supreme Court, we knew the outcome. You understand? Now we have entered a new dispensation where it is difficult to predict the outcome of cases that go before the Supreme Court. Wow. What fresh air. What fresh air. Unbelievable. You see, in this period of 1 week, the Supreme Court ruled against the Attorney General. When the Attorney General went to court and argued that in case management, what has to be disclosed has to have relevance to the matter being determined by a court. The Supreme Court ruled against the Attorney General. And this is in the trial of Bawumia and Co. Okay. The Supreme Court ruled against the Office of Special Prosecutor, decided that the Office of Special Prosecutor could not join a suit before the Supreme Court. Number 2. Number 3, the Supreme Court ruled against the National Democratic Congress in the Pandai case. I mean, unbelievable. And this is a court that the NPP minority claims has been packed. What?
You don't understand.
It doesn't make sense. Is this a packed court? This is supposed to be a packed court. And is making all its decisions against those who are alleged to have packed it. Doesn't make sense. So look, this minority, they should stop wasting our time with this nonsense. The Supreme Court is demonstrating that it is independent. And this level of independence has not been seen for 8 long years in Ghana. That's a fact. That's a fact. You see, as for that Wale member of parliament who is threatening that when they take power, they will purge the judiciary, you should wait for them to take power first. This may turn out to be, empty threats. Take power first. You say when we give you power, you will do something to us. And you think we are so fool, we are such big fools, that we will give the power to you to come and do something to us. What is he talking about? To return us to the judiciary which Kendapa was uncomfortable with, and my brother here made the point very clearly. We had a judiciary that the Minister of National Security of the Akufo-Addo government felt uncomfortable with. Is that the judiciary they want us to return us to? What are they telling us? What are they telling us? Everything was predictable. It was so predictable. Now, what can you predict? You understand? And listen, those who interpret the laws are human beings like us. And the things which go into the decisions they make are so many. Their upbringing as children, the communities in which they live, their own idiosyncrasies and so on. All of that goes into making decisions. The current Chief Justice, when he appeared before Parliament, said something which was very significant. that when he sat on the Atahayi case, as he was sitting on the case, he was thinking about the possibility of Atahayi coming out of prison and what consequences that could have on his family. He said it. He was honest about it. He said it. He was a judge. He was not playing God. As he was sitting in judgment, his own personal circumstances influenced him. Every judge is influenced by those circumstances. Judges, they have a religious flame, some of them. There are judges who are atheists. When they come to make judgments, their atheism influences what they decide. There are judges who believe in traditional religion. When they come to make judgment, traditional religion is an aspect of their thinking, their molding, their understanding of the law. You understand? There are judges who belong to lodges, secret societies. When they come to make decisions, they are influenced by those things. Okay? Now, society recognizes that. And that is why when you go to the High Court, there's one judge sitting there. But when you are dissatisfied with the decision of the High Court, you go to the Court of Appeal. And instead of one judge, there are 3 judges. So that those 3 judges will come from different angles, different backgrounds, and so on. That's the understanding. So their decision would hold. And at the Court of Appeal, it's majority decision. You understand? Majority decision. And then if you are not satisfied with the Court of Appeal and you go to the Supreme Court, the number of judges increases. Yeah. So you can have a situation where the full bench of the Supreme Court sits on an issue. When they finish, the majority carries the day. You understand? That's the system. So these chaps in the New Patriotic Party minority who are saying that if we make the mistake, and I repeat, if we make the mistake of handing over power to them again, when they come, they will purge the judiciary. What do they mean? How are they going to purge the judiciary? What are they going to do? Choose judges who only disagree with them, or who are members of their party, or whose orientation is that of their party? What does that mean? Look, I'm so very happy that we have a judiciary like the one that we have, even though I may not agree with all the decisions that they make. But at least I'm convinced that they are making those decisions honestly, based on their evaluation of the facts and analysis of the national situation. Because the lawyers will tell you about purposive interpretation of the law. Purposive interpretation of the law simply means that in interpreting the law, you have to take account of the total circumstances in which you are interpreting the law. That includes the impact of your decision on the community and so on. You understand? So, all the 3 judgments which were given, I may not be comfortable with all of them. Indeed, the Pandai one, I'm a little surprised. Because if there's a gazette, and there's another gazette to supersede the first one, it means that the first one was invalid. So on that basis, I'm struggling to understand how the Supreme Court came to the conclusions that it did. Yeah. But that is their decision. Yeah. They are not bound to think like me. You understand? So that is their decision. If that is genuinely their decision, we can live with it. We must live with it. So these threats about purging the judiciary, in essence, what does that mean? That the judiciary will be so purged that this election petition would have been decided in another way. Is that what is meant? Anyway, but you see, my brothers, sometimes we have to have pity on some of the people who make these statements. This MP who made the statement, I think it's a first timer. It's a first timer.
First timer, yeah.
He's very young, he's inexperienced. Well, I'm not saying it's an excuse. I'm saying that you should pity him. Pity him. If he had the experience of Alhaji Musa Fuseni and so on, and was making such a statement, I would have gone very hard at him. But he doesn't have the experience. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the experience. Relatively young, inexperienced, and so on. Sometimes when they talk, you just forgive them, and then we move on. I forgive him.
You see why?
I mean, last Saturday, in this very studio, a leading member of the New Patriotic Party who was a member of parliament and is currently working for the Agyapong campaign raised an issue which we cannot overlook. What did he say? He said, look, their campaign team has been trying to get the delegates list and telephone numbers of just so that they can call the delegates. As of last Saturday, they had not succeeded even in reaching 100 of the 200 and something thousand delegates, because the delegates list is not confirmed, is not available, telephone numbers are not available. It's a very important statement. You know why? Because the posters claim that their pool results is based on interviewing delegates. So what delegates list are they using? What telephone numbers are they using? This raises a fundamental question about the quality of the polls. I mean, Adumaku Kisi, he said it, not me. It's part of the Agyapong campaign. So if the posters don't have access to delegates, they don't know the delegates, they don't know their telephone numbers, who are they interviewing for them to be arriving at such conclusions? That's basic. So it goes to the credibility of the polls that we are being told about, And I've always said that over the last couple of years, I've come to respect global info analytics very deeply, okay? And sometimes, most of the times, I'm tempted to take their predictions seriously. But if what Adumaku Kisi is saying, Dr. Adumaku Kisi is saying is true, how can you take any of the polls seriously now? So it is not surprising that some of the polls are tipping Agyapong to win convincingly. Some are tipping Kennedy Agyapong to also win convincingly, same election. What is significant is that now there is something else which is striking. I mean, Alhaji Musa Fuseni spoke about Kennedy Agyapong and the allegations he made against Bawumia and how it made him deep and so on. Somebody has exceeded that. Our own friend Napo has done it again. He has said that in the cabinet, that including the chairman of the cabinet, the president, nobody was as intelligent as Bawumia. Hey! Can you believe it? I compared this to what Kennedy Agyapong said. And this is no ordinary person. This is the running mate of Bawumia. There's even speculation that he could still become the running mate of Bawumia and so on. He says in the cabinet, he didn't see anybody, including himself. He was as intelligent as Bawumia. Now, a question arises out of this. If Bawumia was that intelligent, and the cabinet meetings, his brilliance and intelligence showed, and was even more than that of the president and so on, how can he then now tell us that he was not in charge? He was the most intelligent person in cabinet. That intelligence would have shown in how he led discussions, how his wisdom shaped discussions and so on. So how can the same person now turn around and say that he was only a mate.
It was a sideline.
He was sidelined in the Akufo-Addo government. And that, when it came to the economy, it was Oforiatta who was in charge, not him. So the statements that they themselves make kill them. This is what Napo is telling us. Bawumia was the most intelligent person. That all the cabinet ministers, Master, their intelligence didn't come near Bawumia at all. In any case, and now that they are contesting, Agyapong was a cabinet minister. We've had a wholesale of insults, people throwing attacks at each other, and character assassination. He noted that even candidates who have personally refrained from engaging in attacks have now condemned the actions of their supporters, which he said amounts to a subtle endorsement. Apanga stressed the importance of candidates demonstrating a higher standard of leadership. That is what would mark a distinguished leader, that this leader is different and distinct from the rest, he added, and so on. And he's not the only person who is raising these issues. You understand? So how come that a party like the New Patriotic Party, and it's been in government for 16 years, since 1992, 16 years in government, is going for primaries and national policy issues are not featuring in the campaign? At least they are not prominent in the campaign. There's a big problem here. Okay? There's a very big problem here. I think that there's something which has happened in this primary, which has never happened in the history of Ghana. And Masa, it's interesting. Within 1 week, 2 books have been written and launched about one of the candidates. Within 1 week. It's never happened in the history of Ghana. There are 2 books which have been written about Kennedy Agyapong. The first one, I hear, was written by a professor from the United States of America, a Ghanaian professor from the United States of America. Whole book, who wrote about his vision and so on, It hasn't become, it's not everywhere. It's not even being discussed in the media. Perhaps if that book was discussed in the media, it will raise some of the policy issues which have been absent in the campaign. But it's not being discussed. And I'm wondering why, The second book was actually launched last Monday. And Honorable, I went there. The second book is launched by was written by the spokesperson of the Kennedy Agyapong campaign. And the title of the book is The Great Builder, I think. The Great Builder, Kennedy Ohene Agyapong. Masa, I've read the book. And I think that the author is a brilliant scholar. Very brilliant scholar. The way he writes the book, I mean, it's for example, he's writing about the campaign tour to the Volta region. And he manages to weave the geography, the economy, the culture, and so on into it. So there's very little about Kennedy Agyapong very well now, under this administration. And that he's hoping that it will continue. So whoever becomes flag bearer must contend with Gabi Ochodaku's view. If things are going that well, as Gabi Ochodaku says, what are you coming to do to change it? And who then will want a change? So they should listen to Gabi Ochodaku. Gabi, I think it's Asari Ochodaku, who some actually believe that he was the prime minister in the last regime. This is his verdict on what is happening today. Anyway, Master, should I say more?
My time is up.
Okay.
All right. Okay, I'll be told to wrap up. So let me just do, with your permission, let me just do 1 or 2 messages on WhatsApp and then we'll be done. Good morning, Pan-African Television. Great show as always. Yesterday's judgment was a true testament of the evidence of the reset in the judiciary. just that I am surprised that they are celebrating the outcome of a system they once described as kangaroo. As for the Saturday elections, the one with the most sins, as they themselves have described, will win in the final analysis. It all leads to nothing. We can pray they don't disturb our peace. That's from Evans Ibn Samba from Laura. This one reads, Mr. Host, NPP presidential primary promises many surprises come Saturday. Those sycophantic political pundits, posters and prophets projecting and extrapolating that Dr. Bawumia will win the Saturday presidential primaries with a staggering margin of votes may probably be dreaming, because looking at the crystal ball with available irrefutable data, statistics and comparison analysis, Honorable Kennedy Agyapong will win the contest with narrow margin of votes to upseat the establishment. That's written by...
And boss, let me tell you something. In the NPP, the day of the voting is the most crucial day. And they should go and ask Nana Akufo-Addo. In 1998, everybody thought that Nana Akufo-Addo was going to be President Akufo. Everything pointed to that. On the Congress floor, things flipped. Akufo won with a significant margin. That day, things can change. On the floor.
Fear delegates.
No, I've seen it before.
That was the organization that was underground campaign for, organization for Kufo.
I know what happened. You want me to say it?
That's all good.
This one is from Kwablami of Kwesi, Benghazi. It says NPP presidential aspirants are wasting their energy to campaign because Ghanaians won't vote for any of them. Ghanaians know them that anytime they come into power, they make Ghanaians suffer in hardship. Kennedy Agyapong, Dr. Bawumia, Agyapong, and others are all suffering in vain. Greetings to Honorable Agbo Akwete. All right. So that's coming from Kwablabi of Kwesi, Benghazi. This one reads, good morning, David. They passed unanimous 7, and their coach should learn from the present judiciary. I hope the National Press Conference Party, NPP, are happy. So there will be no press conferences and insults. Indeed, the law is working under the NDC. The law is the law. Bibi Musuku. Musuku. All right, thanks for that. Stephen from Kwabenya says, Abampapa Abba, the SC has done justice to the Kwandai election petition. We did not hear any NDC member going after the justices and calling the court a kangaroo court. Bahama research agenda is on course. Unlike in the past, cases are filed the same day at the SC, and within 2 hours, the case is heard and determined, and he gives example Afenyo Markins case. That's from Stephen in Kwabenya. This one says, it's deeply hypocritical for Honorable Insa Husseini to criticize President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo for government failures, while conveniently ignoring his own record as MPE. Please, no personal attacks. Okay, no personal attacks. Then that's coming from Abu Safiano from Damongo. Your text it's not good for me to read on it. All right, I read portion of it, but the rest were unpalatable, so I won't go there. All right, so this last one says, good morning. With 100% respect, I take exception to what the chief with wide... All right, please, as I said, no personal attacks. All right, thank you so much, Mr.
That is not the issue. I've often said that in my life, I've seen very many young people who have lost their marbles. And I've seen other young people, many of them, who are smart, who can think on their feet and who can act. And I've seen older people who are very, very smart and who handle themselves properly in the public space. And I've seen very old, stupid people too. So it is not a question of age, it's a question of capacity. Okay. Now, for me, what I'm left wondering is why all these African leaders are all over the world. They are in Turkey, they are in the United States, they are in Canada, and so on. Doing what? That's the critical question for me, these African leaders. And their trips tend to be very, very expensive. They're flying private jets, at humongous sums and so on. What is the benefit of these trips to the African people? That's the critical question. What objectives are these African leaders pursuing? Are the African leaders aware that the world has reached a new conjuncture where we are likely to have an implosion? Are they aware of the fact that we've come to a new conjuncture in the world where international law has broken down, where the rules-based order no longer exists? What is it that we as Africans ought to do in order to be able to resolve the social, economic, political problems that confront our continent? African leaders should be talking more and more to themselves. African leaders should be developing a common strategy for overcoming the iniquities of slavery, colonialism, and neocolonialism. I'm sure that we all heard President John Dramani Mahama's speech at Davos and the picture he painted, you understand. All of us heard the Canadian Prime Minister's speech at Davos and so on. All of this ought to have been signposts, on the journey that we have to pursue. And I'm convinced beyond doubt that the path to Africa's emancipation and development is the path which was paved by Nkrumah, Sekou Touré, Modibo Keïta, and others. It has 3 stages. First, how to achieve and jealously guard national sovereignty. 2, how to own our resources and exploit these resources for our own benefit. And 3, how to achieve continental unity. These are the 3 objectives. 3 cardinal objectives. Anything else is a waste of time. So all of these African leaders, including Tinubu, who are rushing to Paris, who are rushing to Istanbul and other places and falling and being lifted off the ground and so on, what are they trying to achieve? I saw a video of is it Paul Biya in Paris, virtually being carried by Macron. So embarrassing. You understand? So embarrassing. Now, some of them are actually physically, mentally incapable of continuing to perform their duties. There was a video of an African president again who was at an international conference, and he was asking his aide, well, where are we? What are we doing here? And so, who took him there? He doesn't even know where he is. And he's recorded on video asking his aide where he is. What is it that he's doing here? And so, who took him there? Look, African leaders must begin to respect themselves, But to some extent, we also take some of the blame. Why do we keep voting for these buffoons? Why do we keep voting for these buffoons? Yes, it is true that some of them rig elections and so on, but why are we not, marshalling our strength and removing them from power? Why is the resistance level so low? Resistance level against these neo-colonial leaders. Why is it so low? So we have battles to wage, and I think it's important that we wage these battles with clear minds. There are some times when we are told that the battle is between, the Gen Z and older people and so on. That's absolute trash. That's not the fault lines. The battle lines are drawn, and they are between those who want Africa to own its own resources and to benefit from the exploitation of its resources, and those who want to surrender these resources to the new colonial forces. That's where the battle lines are drawn. Not between all. There are younger people whose minds are completely befogged, okay? Who do not see the need for Africa to take control of its resources. those young people are not allies in our struggle. You understand? So the battle lines must be clearly defined. It is between those who want Africa to unite and those who want Africa to continue in its current state of fragmentation. It is between those who want to act as surrogates for the imperial powers and those who want to break imperialism's stranglehold on Africa. Those are the battle lines.
Mr. Pratt, you've raised an important, point, and I've had people, question that, trying to find some answers. You talked about the low level of resistance, amongst on the African continent. How do we raise that up? Because definitely, as you are, indicating, we will need some resistance, to clear the systems on the African continent. How do we get to that level?
Well, there's no magic to it. I mean, if the African people became aware of the fact that we face complete extinction, we would up our game and struggle for our own survival. You see, as we speak now, there's a threat that the United States may very soon bomb Iran. It will have consequences for everybody in the world. The oil supply chain will be in total crisis. Oil prices are likely to go up and so on. Even the fallout, the radiation and so on, has serious consequences for all of us, U.S. actions in recent times have moved us very close to a thermonuclear war. No human being, no country, no continent will survive a thermonuclear war. These are the things that have to wake us up to begin to put sensible people in government. You understand? Look, and I've said this many times, between the United States of America and Russia, they have enough nuclear arsenal to destroy the world as we know it today 10 times over. One destruction is enough. One destruction will take away everything. But they have the capacity to destroy this world 10 times over. We should be worried. We should be worried about living in this kind of world. We should take action in order to build a better world. A better world in which resources will not be spent on the production of weapons of mass destruction, but will be spent on the production of food for the hungry, for the children suffering from kwashiorkor and so on. That's the better world we should strive to build. We should strive to build a better world in which healthcare is available to everybody and not only to the rich and so on. This is the only way to survive. We are living in Accra. The only carbon sink we have in the whole of Accra is Achimota Forest. And yet, some mad people, clearly mad people, some of them in official positions, have over the years persistently been trying to sell off the Achimota Forest to private developers. If you realize that once the Achimota Forest goes, our life in Accra is devalued, you will struggle to save the Achimota Forest. You understand? Achimota Forest is so crucial to our well-being as people in Accra. And yet, some very mad, greedy, senseless people have been determined to sell it by any means possible to private developers. This should frighten us. This should wake us up.
On the Achimota Forest issue, I don't know whether Uncle Philip have cited it. When we are coming in from the Gimpa stretch, and then using the Legon bypass, the new bypass, there used to be some dog sellers along that stretch. Recently, about 2 weeks ago, they've started some massive development, and it's clearing portions of the forest along that entire stretch. They said it's going to be a tomato nursery or something. I don't know whether it's a national project or so. But that stretch of the forest is all gone. coming in from Gimpa towards the Legon bypass road.
Now, that part went a long time ago. That's no longer part of the forest. That's opposite Jimpa. I know what you're talking about. It's gone. Long time ago, it's gone. You understand? But fortunately, on this panel, we have the expert. Alhaji Yunus Hussaini was former lands minister and so on. So he's the expert on the topic.
Right.
So that place you're talking about is gone. It's been gone for a long time. You know, it's only a small strip where they're trying to construct this
Tomato nursery.
pavilion. It's a small pavilion, really. It doesn't really matter much. But Achimota Forest itself is crucial for our continuing survival in Accra. You know, and I think that every effort must be made to protect that forest.
Let me first of all welcome Alhaji Yunus Hussaini. Thank you so much, sir, for speaking.
Thank you for having me.
He's a former lands and natural resource minister. So yes, of course, you will have a bite on the issues that we're discussing. Mr. Land.
Yes, I think the issue is what happened to the Nigerian president.
Dedi kama mamena PENDREAM TV ase na so far so good say open online portal e wo Ghana nipa share nipa follow nipa comment here to my best of knowledge without any biases PENDREAM TV